And this month, Senate Democrats called out the high court for a, quote, ethical crisis of its own making. A report from Democrats on the Judiciary Committee dives into the court's failure to enforce its own code of ethics. The investigation outlined Clarence Thomas's undisclosed luxury vacations paid for by a billionaire buddy. Democrats also blast Thomas for not recusing himself from January 6 cases, despite his wife's support of Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Y'all remember that. Joining us now, Justice Correspondent for The Nation, Elie Mystal, and MSNBC legal analyst and former U.S. Attorney Joyce Vance. She's a professor at the University of Alabama School of Law and co-host of the hashtag Sisters podcast, Sisters in Law podcast. Welcome to you both.
So the court has a lot on its plate coming up. I mean, on January 10th, the court is going to hear arguments in the case about pausing this TikTok ban. I'm just wondering, to the both of you, Donald Trump is flip-flopping on the TikTok. Obviously, somebody got to him here. At one point, he was for the ban, then he was against the ban, then he was for the ban again. Now he's against the TikTok ban. I personally am a TikTok user, honey, but the control by the stake by the Chinese government allegedly is very concerning. What do you all think about this? Because his, I just want to read, and this is from NBC News reporting. It notes that Donald Trump, this is what his lawyer is saying. President Trump takes no position on the underlying merits of the dispute. Instead, he respectfully requests that the court consider staying the act's deadline for divestment while it considers the merits of the case. What does that mean? Please. Joyce, Elie, please. What's going on?
I mean, here's what it means. It means that Trump's nominee to be Solicitor General of the United States, John Sauer, the lawyer who wrote this brief, which is an amicus brief. Trump is not a party to the case, but they've filed on his behalf. They're asking the Supreme Court to do something that the court cannot do. In essence, the brief says, hey, Donald Trump is a great deal maker and he's about to be president. So let's ignore all this legal stuff about a law Congress has passed that's about to go into effect that will make it problematic for the people that host TikTok in the United States to continue to do that. Because that's what this legal fight is about. The enforcement mechanism, of course, is that the U.S. platforms can't continue to host TikTok in this country. It's not about Donald Trump making a business deal. But his lawyer, the future Solicitor General, if he's confirmed, is making this nonsensical argument. It certainly diminishes their credibility in front of the Supreme Court. But, you know, the problem, Simone, is this. That's all happening at this meta-technical inside the law issue. And what Americans are seeing is Donald Trump saying, hey, come to me and I will resolve your business and legal problems for you. And boy, is that getting this administration off on exactly the footing we all knew it would start on.
Right, Elie, that sort of call and response between the incoming president and the current Supreme Court is a part of what we have already watched and will continue to watch for. And it happens as the court, trust in the court is at an all-time low. You have this ethics report that came out. I'm sure you were just absolutely shocked by everything that was in it. But you had the Senate review it, and this is what they said, quote, any movement on the issue appears unlikely as Republicans prepare to take control of the Senate in January, underscoring the hurdles in imposing restrictions on a separate branch of government, even as public confidence in the court has fallen to record lows, right? So you have what Joyce is saying about the fact that folks can come directly to Donald Trump, make their argument to him about things that are before the court. But then you also have the reality that you no longer have the checks on that court that you would want to have, particularly in this scenario. Where does that leave us, Elie?
Yeah, there were never any checks on this court. I hope the Democrats feel better now that they've probed it. Maybe Dick Durbin, he wrote a strongly worded letter to John Roberts. Maybe next time Dick Durbin from the minority can beseech John Roberts. I don't think we've tried beseeching them yet. Look, if Donald Trump really wants to save TikTok, all he's got to do is buy Clarence Thomas a new yacht. That is fundamentally the problem here. And I'm not going to hear it from Democrats who are like, oh, now that Republicans are taking over. No. You had 4 years where you controlled the Judiciary Committee. You had 2 years where you controlled both the House and the Senate and the White House, and you did nothing. You did nothing to rein this court in ethically, morally, or legally. and now they're on fleek. Now they are off the chain. They can do whatever they want. Chuck Schumer has said, "Oh, the Supreme Court will be the bulwark against Donald Trump and his craziness." Are you kidding me? Have you listened to this Supreme Court? Have you seen how they just gave that man immunity, absolute immunity to commit crimes? You got to remember, the court during Trump's first term had a person called Ruth Bader Ginsburg on it, which brought the court to a 5-4 balance and gave Roberts a whole lot more power, right? Now she's passed away. Amy Coney Barrett has replaced her. It's a 6-3 court. Amy Coney Barrett has shown no interest in restraining Trump at all. Neither have the ones who are on the take. This is the reality that we face because Democrats did not do anything to restrain the court when they had the chance. And now, as the man who invented the internet said, we are about to enter a time of consequences.
Well, come on, Al Gore. Can I just say one thing, Michael?
What's that?
I just want to know, this is me with my offering plate for the sermon that Elliot just preached. Okay, so we're going to pass the plate. I do think that this point that he's making is actually really important. Democrats they sent a lot of letters, they put out a lot of tweets, and they made a lot of floor speeches. But they asked that John Roberts come to Congress. He said, "I'm not coming." And they were like, oh, okay. And I think that, there were they should have upped the ante a little bit, ratcheted up the pressure. I didn't see any Democrats making their way over into the Supreme Court justice chambers. And while that seems kind of like, to do, I think given the stakes here and what has been happening with the court, it was necessary.
Well, Democrats.
Well, Simone, the thing is, just to hop in, the thing to do would be to cut their budget. Right? Oh. The Constitution says very little about the Supreme Court, but one of the things that's pretty clear is that Congress, not the court, controls the court's budget. If you want these men to pay attention, especially with all the reporting, with all the ethical probing that we have done, if you want these people to pay attention, you have to cut their money. The Constitution says that there will be a Supreme Court. It doesn't say they have to have a nice fancy office building to hold their hearings.
True.
They could have their hearings on the Washington Mall for all the Constitution cares, right? So, if you come at their money, that's a way to make them adhere to some basic minimal ethical standards. But Congress didn't have the will to do that, and again, so now we live in these times.